it is. So the full name is Skłodowska-Curie Actions. As I said in the past, it was called the People Program. I thought that the name is better than the new one, but this is the Commission. Whenever they come from one work program like FP7 to Horizon 2020, the names have to change. This is apparently the standard rule in the Commission. Now, I said this already. Let's have a look at the FP7, the MSCA achievement by FP7 was people, but it's sort of a bottom-up approach. Again, there is no program on scientific or technical issues. It is just say, get together, do something concerning mobility. In what area? It doesn't matter. So, we had 60,000 researchers financed since the creation of Marie Curie Actions, which is quite a lot. More than 10,000 PhDs supported in FP7. The Marie Curie researchers coming from all over the world, so it's not just within Europe, it's not just between Europe and the countries here, it is worldwide. So 130 nationalities were involved. Marie Curie host organizations, that means those organizations where researchers go to, in 80 countries, again, far beyond Europe. 46% of the researchers coming to Europe from industrialized countries stay in Europe after the end of their fellowship. So it is really sort of a new step in your career. It can change your life in hopefully a positive manner. And we have here a very good participation of women, 38% participants in FP. And this is close to the target the Commission once said. They said we would like to have participation of around 40% by women. So, if you look at the areas people worked in, you have a lot in life science, information science and technology, physics, environmental and geosciences, chemistry, social sciences, humanity, mathematics, economics. There are some specific core fund programs, which I'm not going into much detail. So you just see these are the main topic areas. But as I said, it's a bottom-up approach. So whatever you do, it will probably fit into one of these. So that is the achievements in Framework Program 7. You have in Horizon 2020 4 main actions. And the last one I leave out, that requires co-funding from your own country, which is difficult here. But the first 3 ones are the interesting ones. The ITN, Innovative Training Networks. And this is a support for doctoral and early stage training, European training networks, European industrial doctorates, European joint doctorates. There's no call open right now, but the next call will come towards the end of the year. And we make a distinction between early stage researchers and experienced researchers. I'll give you the definition in a minute. The individual fellowship, this is the one that is currently open. It's an interesting one because, as the name suggests, it's for individuals. So here is the support for experienced researchers for international and intersector mobility. You have European fellowships and you have global fellowships. European fellowships means that you from Egypt can go to a university in Europe, spend 1 or 1.5 years there on some common research. What is funded is not the research work itself. What is funded are the expenditures that you need to live in Europe for a year or 1.5. And if you have a family, you can also take the family, you get some extra money for that. And you have a dedicated support for career restart and reintegration. This is mainly for those people who come from, let's say, go from Europe to some other countries worldwide for a year or 2, and then they come back to Europe. Well, they have to somehow restart their career. Once you're out of the country or your environment for such a long time, you need a restart. And even that is funded in the career restart or reintegration program. And the third one that is interesting, I mentioned this morning, is the Research and Innovation Staff Exchange, which is international intersector cooperation through exchange of staff. intersector means that you have here an exchange between universities and the private sector. This is an interesting one. There are small dedicated projects. You have to read the guidelines to see how you set it up, but here you really exchange between universities and the private sector, which is, I think, interesting for both sides. So the core fund needs doctoral program, fellowship programs, but it requires co-funding of institutions in your own country, which is difficult here. So these are, I think that the first three are the important topic areas in this program, and as I said, this one is currently open. So what is an early stage researcher? The early stage researcher shall, at the time of the recruitment by the host organization, that means when you start the project, once you write the proposal, you win, and then you start. So then you are sort of recruited by the host organization. Be in the first 4 years of their research careers and have not been awarded a doctoral degree. So these are people who are at the beginning of their academic career.
So you can say that for DSR as a general researcher.
Pardon?
As a general researcher.
Yes.
That's right?
Yeah. This is early stage. Then we have, in contrast to that, the experienced researcher. So this researcher shall, at the deadline for the submission of the proposal. You see the problems here. This talks about the deadline of the submission, and this talks at the time of recruitment. Why these differences, don't ask me. Well, you have to pay attention to them. These are little traps you can easily fall into. So by the time you submit the proposal, be in the possession of a doctoral degree or have at least 4 years of full-time equivalent research experience. So I would always say it should be the doctoral degree. That is the safest. So that's the distinction between early stage and experienced researchers. And that is a distinction you find throughout this program. Innovative training networks, the first one, is to train a new generation of creative, entrepreneurial, innovative, early-stage researchers able to face current and future challenges. Nice words, but I think it's more or less clear what it says. To raise excellence in structural research and doctoral training, extending the traditional academic research training setting, and equipping researchers with the right combination of research-related and transferable competencies. These are the beautiful words of the European Commission. The main point is that you always find the word training. And it's called training, innovative training networks. The basic idea behind all this exchange is that researchers that go from one place to another place get trained in their career, apart from the research work they are doing. But they need a training. So they have to learn new things at the new place where they are working. And this, of course, has to be made very clear in the proposal, that there is this training and there is a good outcome of that training. So these networks may take one of the three forms with different participation requirements. You have the European Training Network, training highly skilled researchers and stimulating entrepreneurship, creativity and innovation in Europe. Again, they're open to non-Europeans. You have the European Industrial Doctorates, involving the non-academic sector in doctoral training so that skills better match public and private sector needs. So here you have again the combination of academic, non-academic. And then you have the European Joint Doctorates to promote international intersectional multidisciplinary collaboration in doctoral level training in Europe through the creation of joint doctoral programs, leading to the deliverable of joint double or multiple doctorate degrees. Now, this is rather complex because here you go beyond the individual researcher. You have to set up joint doctoral programs. So this would mean that, for example, when Cairo University is in such a network, and you have, say, the University of Berlin or Hamburg in Germany, that these two universities must sit together and think about a joint doctoral program. So this is beyond you as an individual researcher. So you have to discuss with the right bodies in your university, and you have to talk, and they have to sit with those bodies in the university in Germany, UK, France, whatsoever. It's interesting, but I think it's extremely difficult if you come outside Europe. So these are the training networks, and they are larger projects. You not just have 2 partners in there, you have 3, 4, 5 partners. And the largest share of the ITN core budget is made available for ETN, for the European training networks. ETN must be composed of at least 3 beneficiaries, usual conditions. It's recommended to keep the size of the consortium between 6 and 10 beneficiaries. So you see, 3 is the formal minimum, but the Commission already says, well, we'd rather see more than 3, somewhere between 6 and 10. So it becomes rather complex. Now, the interesting thing is the individual fellowship. And this is enhancing the creative and innovation potential of experienced researchers who wish to diversify their individual competence in terms of skill acquisition through advanced training, international and intersectoral mobility. And here we really talk about individuals. The proposal that you set up is between, let's say, a university in UK and you as a researcher from University of Cairo. But on the one hand, it's the university in Europe, on the other hand, it's you as a researcher. These individual fellowships provide opportunities to acquire, transfer new knowledge, to work on research in European contexts, EU member states and socialist countries, or outside Europe. Support is foreseen for individual transnational fellowships awarded to the best or most promising researchers for employment in European member states, associated countries, based on an application made jointly by, as I said, the researcher and the host organization in academic or even non-academic sectors. I think it's easier, of course, within the academic sector, but it's not limited to that. And finally, we have the RISE, Research and Innovation Staff Exchange, and this will promote international intersector collaboration through research and innovation staff exchange, sharing of knowledge and ideas from research to market and vice versa, because that's where you have the private sector, academia, for the advancement of science and the development of innovation. Remember what I said about innovation earlier. Innovation is something that you bring to the market. This is something where you involve the private sector. So this is where you have the advancement of science and development of innovation. So the conditions are at least 3 independent participants established in 3 different countries, and they must respect one of the following 2 conditions. 2 organizations are located in 2 different member states, and 1 organization is located in a 3rd country. So 3rd country would be, for example, Egypt. Independently from the sector they belong to. So this is one of the conditions. Or the other condition, you can follow this one. If all 3 independent organizations are from Europe, member states, associated countries, at least 1 organization should be from the academic sector and 1 from the non-academic sector. So you cannot have a RISE project just with academic sector, you cannot have a RISE project that just with the private sector. So this is a brief overview about the Marie Curie actions.